As you build your relational networks among different ethnic and cultural groups, it's inevitable that you will come across differences and experience cultural dissonance. Remember Jesus and the woman at the well? At that time, Jewish people would not associate with the Samaritans, and there was definitely tension in their interaction. Sometimes the cultural differences feel big, sometimes they feel small, and there were plenty of opportunities for stereotypes and misunderstandings. The way you enter into cross-cultural relationships will significantly impact your overall experience with them. As followers of Jesus, how can we enter well and learn to partner with people of different cultures? The entry posture diagram is a great tool to analyze our attitudes and choices in cross-cultural interactions. This diagram illustrates two approaches. The first, the red line, shows what happens when we approach differences in a self-centered and ethnocentric way. The second, the green line, shows what can happen when we approach differences in a Jesus and other-centered way. Here we see Susan serving her international friends and community by cooking a meal and doing the dishes. Kevin, an international student, asks her for water. "Fetch me some water."
Excuse me? A little busy here. You have legs. You can get it yourself.
Susan is frustrated and suspicious of Kevin, given her own cultural background where equality in gender roles is a high value. In her culture, it would be more appropriate for a man or woman to ask, "Could you please get me a glass of water?" Or, given that she's busy and doing the dishes, it would be expected that the person would get their own water rather than making this request. Susan interprets the situation from her own cultural perspective. In Kevin's culture, however, it's a woman's responsibility and role to serve her guests, especially males and elders. Susan is not aware of or does not consider Kevin's background. The inevitable happens. The cultural differences create dissonance for Susan. She responds to the tension by reacting according to her own cultural perspective, annoyance with the request. Therefore, she brings frustration, suspicion, and distrust into the relationship. Later, she removes herself from pursuing the friendship. The result? Broken relationships, withdrawal, and alienation. Susan and Kevin's internal values impact their interaction with each other. What values do you hold? What is your reaction to this situation? Let's revisit the scenario and see how we can navigate this cross-cultural tension following the green line approach. The same situation unfolds, but this time, even though Susan looks a bit taken aback, she says, "Okay," and grabs him a glass of water. Susan decides to ask an insider for help to better understand what happened. An insider is someone who knows the culture well and can help you understand the deeper values or motivations behind what you see.
At the meeting the other day, I was cooking for everyone and doing the dishes when Kevin told me, "Fetch me some water." I was hurt by that, but I was wondering if this is a cultural way of asking.
The insider explains Kevin's culture. Susan thanks her and expresses that now that she understands the dynamics, she will be able to talk to Kevin about this incident without being angry or frustrated. Susan entered the situation as a learner with the willingness to adapt, assume the best, and postpone judgment. She extended grace by fulfilling the request. She gathered further information to help her understand the cultural tension, and she made a plan to talk to Kevin so they can learn together. When cultural differences and tension ensued, she responded in humility and with a learner's attitude by asking questions and initiating relationship. Interacting and partnering with international students is about becoming cultural observers and learners. Kevin was actually a man who respected women, cared deeply for the community, and taught the fellowship how to follow Jesus together. In this second green line scenario, Susan learned not to write off Kevin, and Kevin learned that in U.S. culture, it may not be okay to ask directly for a glass of water if the host is busy doing something else. If we pursue authentic relationships, both we and our international friends will learn together. We not only become cultural observers, we become cultural learners together with internationals. We learn that in our ethnocentric view, we tend to judge others by our values and too often ascribe negative motives to something that from a different point of view is neutral or okay. Extending grace in the midst of cultural tension may at times be difficult, but is essential in embodying Christ to our friends as they journey to Jesus.